A little bit, but not too bad. I'm still keeping my grades up.
a roll call vote of subjects discussed in closed meeting. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the certificate of closed meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Do we have any discussion? There being none, Ms. Lau, may we have a roll call vote?
Ms. Bohannon Stewart?
Yes, virtually.
Mrs. Hodges?
Yes.
Ms. Diggs?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Dr. Gibbs?
Yes. Item 2.3, approval of 2026-2027 personnel appointments. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 personnel appointments as listed.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 2.4, approval of personnel action. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the personnel action as listed.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Ms. Bohannon Stewart, did you say aye?
Yes, I said aye.
Thank you. All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Closed is now adjourned. Thank you for being here, everyone, tonight. This is the Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, Matthews County School Board regular monthly meeting. Would you all please join me in item 1.2, the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.3, approval from school board members present for absent members' electronic participation in the April 21st, 2026 regular monthly school board meeting. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the request from school board member Amy L. Bohannon Stewart for electronic participation in the April 21st, 2026 regular monthly meeting from the Hampton Inn, 12341 West Broad Street, Richmond, Virginia, 23233, due to mandatory training connected to her full-time job, which prevents her physical attendance.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. May I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1.4, Ms. Lau, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Bohannon Stewart?
Here, electronically.
Mrs. Hodges?
Here.
Ms. Diggs?
Here.
Mr. Morgan?
Here.
Dr. Gibbs?
Present. Thank you. Item 1.5, approval of the agenda, additions and deletions. May I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda, including any additions and deletions.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. May I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you,
Dr.
Ms.
Gibbs.
Diggs. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1.6, consent agenda. Seeking a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 12th, 2026 Joint Board of Supervisors and Matthews School Board Budget Work Session and March 17, 2026 closed meeting and regular monthly meeting. Reviewed policies, 4-H Junior Camp Bus Request, Coalition for Kids Camp Bus Request, MVFD East River Fest Bus Request, 2026-2027 student fees, overnight FCCLA field trip, 2026-2027 academic calendar, and monthly claims as presented on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. May I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question about student fees. I see this is for next year, obviously, but is there any change from this year to next year? It doesn't, we don't have last year's to compare it to.
Yeah, I don't believe there are any changes to the actual fees. The loan change has to do with the presentation of that. So we tried to kind of categorize them and have columns for the two schools. That's also based on some feedback that we had gotten about supply lists. So we're going to try to do the same thing for supply lists to make it a little bit easier to kind of read and interpret for families on the supply list. So we were just trying, the only real change is just streamlining the form, but the fees themselves remain the same.
And I also have a question about the dual enrollment classes that they take through the RCC instructors, not the instructors here. There's no fee except for,
So transferable dual enrollment
Right.
credits
right,
in-house, those by, I think, state code now, General Assembly required that those be free to students.
right,
So our CTE dual enrollment doesn't fall under that. So there are still fees for those dual enrollment
Right.
classes. And there are still fees to the school division for students who attend Chesapeake Bay Governor's School. Those students haven't paid for that, but there's still a cost from the division because, again, I think they're called specialty centers or something like that within the VCCS. So there are still costs to school divisions for those dual enrollment credits. But for example, for us, like dual enrollment English taught here at the high school, there's no longer a fee for students and thus the school division for those classes.
but how about dual enrollment psych, SOCH?
I think it's part of what is a transferable, it's part of the unified, there's a UCGS, Unified Certificate, or, yeah, so it's transferable. If they're transferable to four-year colleges,
But students don't have to pay anything for that?
correct, those are free.
Okay,
Yeah, the VCCS kind of has to eat that cost.
okay,
But there was, in true
Great.
kind of fashion, there was no additional funding made available for VCCS to cover that lost revenue.
Okay.
But yeah, that's
okay.
a
great.
thing now.
Great, thank you.
Any more discussion? Just as a reminder, May 18th, Mrs. Hodges and Ms. Bohannon Stewart will be working the claims. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 1.7, the Matthews County School Board Governance Norms and Protocols. As you recall, we usually read a few of these every month. I believe, Mrs. Hodges, you have those up?
Yes, yes. The one I'm going to read is actually three of them. When and how the board evaluates the superintendent. The superintendent is evaluated annually prior to June 30th. When and how the board conducts a self-evaluation. The school board will conduct a self-evaluation during their summer retreat. When and how the board monitors and updates the school board's strategic plan. The school board reviews and evaluates the strategic plan in January and during their summer retreat.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. We are now up to item number 2, recognitions. 2.1 is winter sports with Mrs. Amy O'Neill.
Good evening. Just want to give a recap of our winter sports. Do I have a clicker? Okay.
Is the mic on? I think
No.
folks at home will probably need the mic so it feeds through.
Yeah, you turn it on. I turned it on and off.
There we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
now
You
you're
good now? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So just going over our teams, our JV boys basketball team, head coach Zach Jaros, I do that every time, and assistant coach Alex Forrest. They had a really good season this year, strong 10-7 on the season. They had growth from many players. They developed the kids like they should, so they'll be ready for their varsity season going up. They lost 2 of their top scoring threats. They pulled them up to varsity, and they still finished 7-6. They're going to lose 5 sophomores to varsity next year, but it was an incredible season with strong support from parents and Matthews community. Our varsity boys basketball coach, C.K. Ambrose, Tay Leggett, Johnny Matthews, and Jake Jackson. Sorry, Jake. I've just put some coaches' perspective. I've asked the coaches to give a little perspective. They said the season didn't go quite as they expected. But they asked returners to step into roles that they hadn't played before. But overall, they had some tough games. But their major highlight of the season was traveling to West Point and winning the game in overtime. It was very exciting. One game that the coach was very proud of was after a loss. They were down by double digits at Middlesex at halftime, but the guys fought hard, clawed back within 2 points. So that's pretty close to a victory, and a victory in his eyes, in our eyes. I've got the rest of that on another slide. Congratulations to Blake Hunley for being selected second team All-District. Y'all clap for that if you'd like. That's pretty impressive. We had a game this year. We started last year with a volleyball game against staff and coaches. It was really exciting. This year we decided to do a basketball game, which is a little bit harder for us old folks. But anyway, it was a fun night. We had a good crowd. The kids had a good time. The adults had a good time. Only had one little minor injury, but it was a lot of fun. I want to add more and more as we go. Maybe softball. I don't know about baseball, but just some things that us old folks can do. But it was really fun. JV girls basketball, head coach J.J. Ashbury, assistant coach Courtney Love. The girls had 10 members on their team, 3 freshmen, 7 eighth graders, and which was up 8 players from previous season. The girls made progress in understanding the fundamentals of the game, the concepts, teamwork, as the season progressed. They played only 2 out of 6 district teams due to schools not having JV teams, but they played majority games against the Northern Neck teams and did really well with that. So we have a good future coming up to varsity. And the coaching perspective, well, I just said that. Okay. Varsity girls basketball, head coach Rob Marrero and assistant coach Wes Griffith. I want to publicly thank Coach Rob Marrero. He's resigned after the season, so we are looking for a new head coach. I want to thank him for his service and his dedication to our team. He did a really great job. He's a great person. In his coaching perspective, we had a 9-8 record. This was the first time with a winning record in a very long time, so that was amazing. We advanced to postseason regional play for the first time in 5 years. We had 5 team members out of 9 eligible to receive all academic. Two players received all first team all district, second team all district. 1 player made second team all district and second team all region. And they did some fundraising activities with the Christmas Child fundraiser that Amy Ashbury does. So that was really neat. I'd like to get more teams involved in that next year. Mm-hmm. So again, Lila Dove, first team all district. Adriana Forrest, second team all district. And Elizabeth Moore, first team all district. Please give them a hand. Thank you. Then, Lila Duff, all region, first, second team, all region, second team, Adriana Forrest, and all region, second team, Elizabeth Moore. We have a wonderful cheer team. We are 5 strong, And I can't imagine doing cheers in front of the whole crowd just with 5 kids, but they do an amazing job and bring the spirit. And we're very, very, very happy to have them. And they lead our send-offs, which is really neat. Now, their coaching perspective, they had small squad for the winter season, had 2 new cheerleaders join the team. They worked hard to support winter teams and show school spirit during games and leading state send-off and for indoor track and wrestling. Squad really enjoyed traveling to cheer on the regional game because we can actually travel for regional play. So they had a really great time doing that at West Point, and they're looking to improve and add new members next year. Our indoor track and field team always goes to state. We're going to go to state here and outdoor too, I'm quite sure. They did a great job. We always have, I didn't list her here, but Nora Southard, she qualified for states early in the long jump, triple jump. She's just went out with 0 experience in the beginning, and she's one of the top runners out there, so it's really great. Love Nora. Have to highlight our lunch ladies again. Anytime that our trip goes to postseason, or if they go to Northampton, or they go to somewhere like Northumberland, somewhere that's a little further, they will pack lunches for our teams, and I'm really appreciative for that. And they get all into it. They love doing that kind of stuff, so they love supporting our athletes. Here is our state send-off for indoor track. For those of you that don't know what a state send-off is for us, we get the whole school out in the hallways to cheer as the band, cheerleaders and band leads the team around the school, and then we send them off to wherever they're going. It's a really cool thing, and the kids feel very supported. Wrestling. Now, if there's one team that's really put Matthews High School on the map this year, it's wrestling, and they pretty much do every year, but they've done better than the past this year. Coaching perspective, we have a region wrestling wrestler of the year, Ivan Scheibel. Ivan, Sal Cardenas, Franklin Cardenas, and Eric Cardenas all were regional champs. Jesse Monasteroli, Carter Coles, and Jaden Boyd were regional runner-ups. Roan Gray and Grayson Patterson were 3rd in regions. Now for states, Ivan was a state runner-up, so that was very impressive, and he almost had state champion. He was almost there. It was a great thing to watch. Ivan, Sal, and Frank all hit their 100 wins, so that was impressive also. And for the 4th year in a row, we have the Region Coach of the Year. Our record was 21-3 in dual meets. We were region champs. We were 4th in the state. We were Matthews Invitational champs, Franklin dual champs, and Lancaster dual runner-up. That's very impressive. This was our tournament that we hosted, and again, we won that tournament. And these are just pictures of us being champions. This is our wrestling state send-off. Again, a very, very cool thing because, I mean, how else will you feel supported? Your entire student body comes out to send you off, and it's just a really great thing to do. Ivan Scheibel has committed to D2, Millersville University in Pennsylvania. We're going to have his signing, trying to plan that out in between spring sports. Really, really difficult, but we're going to do it. Hopefully in our spring sports ceremony. We had a youth wrestling night, so they all came in and were highlighted in the middle of the meet. So it was a great thing for them to see how the big kids do it. And our booster club, I always like to highlight them because they are the backbone of the athletic department. Without them, I don't know what I'd do. And these are some of the purchases they've made this year. What they do is they accept an application from the coach of whatever team, whatever they're requesting. Boys basketball requested a shooting machine, like Dr. Dish, if y'all are familiar. They will pay half, and the team is responsible for the other half. So you'll see that they've spent quite a bit of money this year, and all of the events that they have participated in, again, and that is also getting volunteers for the gates for games, for concession stand help, and just overall, I mean, I couldn't do my job without them. And I want to thank them again publicly for everything they do. This year was the first time, and I don't know, back in the day they may have done this here, but I know that since I've been here, they have not done a sports award ceremony all in one place. So we got all the winter sports together. We had a wonderful banquet. The families provided a dessert. Our booster club provided the meal. It was just a great time. We had 200 people there. And then we went to the auditorium, and then they spoke and highlighted everything that the team did well, the individuals did well, and it was a really good time. And again, like I said, we're going to try to do this for spring. It's just pray no rain. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Coach O'Neill,
Before I leave, I just wanted to, I'm sorry.
go ahead. And then
Oh,
I'll
I just wanted to
request.
say a couple of things while I'm up here and have the chance. I want to thank Ms. Williams and Ms. Hayes for everything they do. Wonderful job. I get emotional. It's amazing to see. It really is. And I want you to know that I support our bus drivers. I can't tell you, stop crying, Jeannie. I can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of them, because without them, we wouldn't be able to get to the games. We wouldn't be able to do the things that we do. And I want to thank you very much for everything you do.
It's a fantastic presentation. I was just going to ask if there are any student athletes in the audience or cheerleaders, and all of them to stand so we can
Yes,
applaud.
please. Absolutely.
Give them a round of applause.
Stand.
Please stand. Please stand. Please stand. Good, good, good. Wonderful.
Thank you. And if there are any students in the audience who want to be an athlete, you just come see me.
That's right. Good.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Wonderful. Item 2.2, our high school equivalency program recognition with Miss Edith Turner.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Daniel, Chair Dr. Gibbs, Vice Chair Mr. Morgan, and school board members. My name is Tracy Elliott, and I'm the Regional Program Manager for Middle Peninsula RACE, MP RACE, and we are the Regional Adult Basic Education, GED Services, Digital Literacy, and ELL program that serves adults 18 and older in Matthews and throughout the Middle Peninsula. We've been serving Middle Peninsula residents for over 20 years. We offer in-person, virtual, one-on-one tutoring, and distance education options. Every GED journey is different, and each individual has a story to tell. And tonight, I would like to share the journey of the newest GED recipient for Matthews County. I am joined this evening by our amazing instructional staff here in Matthews, Miss Susan Sanderson and Miss Edith Turner. I'm also joined by our most recent Matthews GED recipient, Franklin Morse. So historically, most of the adults we serve fall in the 25 to 46 age group, and the majority are female. Since the COVID pandemic, and particularly in the past 2 years, we've seen an increase in the number of young adults between the ages of 18 to 24, and an increase in male students. The number of underage 16 to 17-year-old students that have been released from compulsory attendance that we serve in our program annually is about 2 to 3 students per year. And out of those 2 to 3 students, we usually only have one that follows through and earns their GED. So I'm happy to report that Franklin Morse is that one student that has followed through and completed his GED. I am so proud of him and our Matthews team for their hard work and dedication. Franklin wasted no time. Let me tell you about his story. He wasted no time. He was released from compulsory attendance at the January 20th school board meeting. He received his letter on January 21st, and he was in class on January 22nd, which was the first night he was eligible to be in class. So he was there. Let me give you a little bit of background about the GED test so that everyone's aware of how it works. There are 4 subject tests on the GED. The subjects are reasoning through language arts, science, social studies, and math. It's a computer-based test, so there's that component of having the digital literacy skills needed to complete the test. We also teach that for adults that need that. If a learner were to take all 4 subjects of the test at once, it's an 8-hour-long test. And statistics have shown that your scores drop incredibly after the first 2 subjects. So for that reason, we have our adults focus on one subject at a time. We work through one subject at a time. We test, we pass, we move on to the next subject. Also, the test costs $36 a subject, so you're talking $144 for a student to take all 4 subjects of the GED test just one time. Luckily, with our grant funding, we're able to purchase vouchers, and so as long as a student passes the practice test, we give them a voucher to take the actual test, so it could be no cost for the student to take and earn a GED test. So, back to Franklin. Oh, one more thing. Passing score is a 145. I just want you to keep that in mind, okay? So on each subject, you have to score 145. So within 3 weeks of starting class, Franklin took the Reasoning Through Language Arts GED subject test, and he passed it with a score of 148. So he became confident. He got it under his belt, and he said, I can do this. So 9 days after that, he took the social studies GED subject test, and he passed it with a score of 157. A week after that, he took the science GED test, and he passed it with a score of 173. 200 is the top, okay? So, within 1 month and 4 days of starting GED class, Franklin had passed 3 of the 4 subject tests. He only had 1 test left, and that's the one that everyone saves for last. It's the math test, which thankfully we have Miss Sanderson, so it's all good. So Franklin took the GED Ready math test at the end of February, and it indicated that, he was right there. He was ready to take the test, but that wasn't good enough for Franklin, is what I was told by Miss Turner. He was not happy with that. So he decided he was going to work on math a few more weeks with Miss Sanderson, take a practice test again, and then go and take his official GED math test. So he did that on March 26th. He scored a 158. So in the time frame of 2 months and 4 days from start to finish, he earned his GED credential, and that is incredibly fast. So it's my honor tonight to celebrate with you our most recent Matthews GED recipient, Franklin Morse. Please help us acknowledge his achievements. He already received his GED. They get it through email from GED Testing Service. We don't issue that, so it comes nationally, but we have just a certificate from our program for him that we would like to present to him tonight. So Franklin has his GED, he has a job, he came here straight from work, and we are so incredibly proud of him. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to tell you about MP Race, to celebrate Franklin, and we are gonna go and take some cap and gown pictures of Franklin with his family. Thank you.
Wonderful.
That's great.
Good to see you, Ms. Elliott. Congratulations, Mr. Morse. Great job. Job well done.
Congratulations. That is really cool. He works down at Haskins.
We're at item 2.3, the FCCLA competition. I'm already flustered because I'm so excited about what we're gonna hear here with Mrs. Michelle Williams. Come on up. And Ms. Hayes. She is not on my verbiage here, so Ms. Hayes? Ms. Hayes?
Because what we do together.
That's right. Come on, Ms. Hayes.
Okay, so she's going to talk because if I start, we'll be here now.
Okay, deal.
Like I said, what we do together, so you might be in for it either way.
Okay.
And we're gonna do it without crying.
Okay.
Because this year,
I don't believe you.
this year has been spectacular, to say the least. This was our first year spearheading, joining the middle and the high school FCCLA organizations. And Ms. Hayes has been doing this a long time. I've not been doing it as long, but I can tend to be a little bit of a steamroller sometimes. And so she has been very patient and very gracious with me. And we have seen the most spectacular successes this year between Thomas Hunter kids and the high school kids. And I posted on social media because everybody was saying, I see the pictures, but who did which project? So I put it all together, and they're in no particular order, but I'll give you the summary before I tell you the what and the who. We took 25 middle and high school students, Ms. Hayes, myself, and Sergeant Hill with the Matthews County Sheriff's Department, and our fearless bus driver, Miss Tina, and Miss Stacy Wyatt from the elementary school. And we had a spectacular trip. It was the most amazing trip, and I've done probably 20, 25 national and state conference trips. So this one was really spectacular. Of those 25 students, there were 11 different unique projects. Those projects ranged from just a career investigation all the way up to truly advocating to change public policy and everything in between. Lots of community service, outreach, and I will tell you all of those. But of those 11 projects, all 11 brought back medals.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
There were 5 gold medalists,
Woo!
3 silver, and 3 bronze. And if I could have all of the students that were able to be here, you'll have to forgive us because we did not anticipate there being softball games this afternoon. And bless her heart, one of my players, I told her, I said, "You're being recognized, I need you to be there." She said she was gonna run across in her uniform, so that she did. We had half a dozen kids that are still playing games, so they are not able to be with us. But all that went with us to states, if you could stand. Stay standing. These are tomorrow's future,
And they're today's leaders.
and they are truly today's leaders.
Good job. I love that. I love that.
And I can't be more proud. So, of these projects, they're all out in the foyer for display. I've always wanted my kids, when they compete, to be able to be recognized for what they've done. But I have never had a group of kids dig in and dig deep and work harder and put up with me every time I'd say, "No, that's not good enough. we need one more piece. Oh, yeah, I found one more thing you need to do. Oh, yeah, there's one more thing in the rubric. And it paid off. It truly did pay off. For repurpose and redesign, I officially became the Matthews High School Thomas Hunter Middle School bag lady. And for the administration that happened to come into my classroom and see the avalanche of Walmart and Food Lion plastic bags, I'm sorry, but not really. Because Plarn for the People, these young ladies recruited people in the community. One of our crocheter friends is here tonight, and one of my biggest supporters in everything family and consumer science. I couldn't do what I do without community people like her, and that's Miss Sue Skidmore. The cafeteria, Miss Connie, and the kids, I watched my 7th graders sit in the floor and watch YouTube videos to teach themselves how to crochet so they could help. They crocheted 8 sleep mats for the homeless, and they were donated to the Helping the Homeless organization in Gloucester, 7 of them. They were zero waste projects because they decided after we started cutting and making the strips, we discovered there was a huge amount of the plastic bag left over that was not used to make what we call plarn, or plastic yarn. So we discussed it, was what can we do with this? You know, there's got to be something else we can repurpose this for. And they said, well, everybody needs a pillow. Regardless of what their status is, everybody needs a pillow. So they extended the length of the mat and folded it over, and then encased and slip stitched that close to include all of the scrap, or a good portion of it, into making a pillow for that mat. Those young ladies were very disappointed when they did not place to go to the national competition, and we were extremely confused. We have gone over the rubrics from the state, and there were a couple of things that I scratched my head on that worked for every other project that's out there, but not for this one. But they ended up with a gold medal regardless. But they were the 5th in line. So if one of the top 3 do not participate in nationals, they can still go to nationals with that gold. The next one, Miss Macy Kenyon and Lily McDaniel. These girls, I told them, I said, there's this really cool project that I'd really like to see somebody take on one year. And they said, what's that? And I said, it's called Food Innovations. And we'd never competed in it before, didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. But these girls have worked unbelievably hard, and they created a unique prototype recipe called the Crab Pepper Poppers with a Punch. And we took samples all around the school, and we actually had some people take the recipe and remake it to see how it would work. Dr. Greaves said it's one of the best things he's ever tasted. And it will be showcased in the Virginia 250 cookbook that we're working on. Shameless plug, I need recipes, please, because I can't make them all myself. And these girls came back with a 1st place gold medal national qualifiers. The next one, and like I said, these are in no particular order. These were just as they came to my mind. This young lady standing right here in the Matthews uniform, wearing the Matthews dirt, who just ran off the softball field to make it here tonight. She and her partner, Fallon Cook, in the back with the polka dots, they took over a project that was started last year, and those board members that were present would remember the Matthews Cares petition. Well, Fallon's stepsister had started that project, but then had to unfortunately move to another county. And so Fallon said, well, I'll take it over. And Grace jumped in to help. They did public policy advocacy, and they picked up where Matthews Cares left off. And the Thursday before we left for state conference, they got the final okay. They won their advocacy project, and there will be convex mirrors placed at Richardson's Corner. So if anybody'd like to donate to help offset the cost, that'd be great. But Matthews Visitor Center and the Matthews County Maintenance Department are going to partner with us. We're going to get the mirror and put a bar off of the Visitor Center off of Sibley's store to increase visibility at Richardson's Corner. So I couldn't be more proud. The next one, sorry, didn't finish that one. They took a first place silver medal. They are also national qualifiers. And then making it a family affair, Grace's sister Savannah, who is a 7th grader at Thomas Hunter, dove in deep, and she said, well, I want to do career investigations. And she interviewed not one, which was the minimum, but two female sergeants in the Gloucester and Matthews police departments to talk about how few women police officers there are on the force. She earned a bronze medal, first time ever competing, and a new FCCLA member. Still nothing shabby there. Not able to be here with us tonight is Abby Henry, and Abby continued the sensory support backpack project this year, and she competed in what was called National Programs in Action to show how the national FCCLA planning process is utilized to complete a project. She earned a bronze medal for that. One of our other softball players is not able to be here right now, along with her two partners, Ariel and Alasia in the back. They did the Chapter Service Project Display Level 1, which is for 7th and 8th graders, continuing the breakfast bags for the homeless project. This year, they expanded that project and did a fall food drive to benefit Hands Across Matthews and gave them 7 cases of food, in addition to delivering 500 breakfast bags to helping the homeless this year. They were a 2nd place gold medal national qualifying team. In addition to that, we had Chapter Service Project Portfolio Level 2. That's all about the babies, supporting families with the unexpected. And this project, we combined Weighted Angels project that we had been doing for 2 years, along with another organization called CareNet of the Virginia Peninsula that helps families who are unexpectedly expecting. And they offer all kinds of supplies and resources to families to help offset the shock of finding out that you're expecting a child that you didn't know was coming. They were a 2nd place gold medal national qualifier. Excuse me, silver medal national qualifier. The 8th one, Chapter Service Project Portfolio Level 1, Care Bags for Cancer Warriors. Miss Autumn Segalini, that was my gold medalist last year in fashion construction, was stricken last August when her grandmother and a very dear friend of mine was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And Autumn, for some reason, we had started into fashion construction again this year, and I kept saying, it just doesn't seem like your heart's in it this year. What do we need to do? Can we change? What can we do to fix it? And we were talking and came to the decision that maybe something a little different, that was a little more significant and meaningful in her life right now, would be the project for her. And she created an Amazon wish list, and she started collecting donations. And right before we left for spring break, she and her partner, Emily Hernandez, and I went to the Gloucester Cancer Center and delivered what their goal was 25. They delivered 50 care bags for cancer warriors. Unfortunately, her grandmother, Miss Cinda, passed away shortly before this. So in her honor and in my mother's honor, we worked hard to see that one through. She ended up with a bronze medal this year for a project that she went into blindly. At mid-year, she hadn't started it early like the rest, but still a bronze medal. And 3rd place. So if one of the first 2 in that category do not register for conference, she will be, with her partner, a national qualifier. Right now, we are waiting to hear. We have to raise the funds to get everybody registered. She does intend to go, so we will get her registered and hope that we will get that as well. Chapter Service Project Display Level 2, Spreading Love and Joy at CHKD. God love them. Miss Hayes and I, we had quite the experience in co-teaching for several weeks, because in my study hall block and in my 7th grade FCS block, she would bring her 3 young ladies down who had competed at Thomas Hunter previously. She would bring them down to my classroom, and I had the sewing machines out, and our goal was 50 pillowcases and 25 tie blankets, and we made 75 pillowcases and 26 tie blankets to deliver to Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters patients to give them a little bit of love around Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. Their project was a 3rd place, fifth place gold medal. Then, and they're all playing sports right now. So, good job for them. Then the Focus on the Children was a new project for us this year. There are over 90 projects that these kids can participate in. And we spend a great deal of time going over what their passion is and what drives them. Focus on the Children. Last year, I had 3 young ladies. That was Gracie and her 2 partners, Jordan West, who is playing softball, and Eloise, who's on a boat somewhere with crew. They wrote a book last year for financial literacy called 5 Penguins with Pennies. It's as cute as a button. And their goal was, when they came back from states last year, to have it published. So they looked and looked and looked. They researched publishers. Didn't quite work the way we wanted. But our friends at the Gazette Journal were ever so kind to help us out. And they printed copies and bound copies of their book for sale. And then, to go along with their book, they planned and orchestrated, thank you for not calling a snow day or snow event that evening. In the midst of the crazy snow, they had planned and gotten financial donations as well as games and toys and stickers and all these things to do giveaways, and hosted their own family math night at the elementary school. Not as publicized, or not as many people showed up as we had hoped, but we did end up with, 1.5 inches of snow that day, starting at 3 o'clock, and our event was at 5. So they went, and they were shocked. They were sitting in the national qualifiers place, and everybody else had been called, and they were like, we're still sitting here. What is this? And they were a 1st place gold medal national qualifying team. And the last one was the Chapter Service Project Display Level 3. 2 of our seniors, who are getting ready to leave us, unfortunately. Don't cry. Don't cry. These young ladies did a fall coat drive, Coats for Kids. And donated 56 brand new coats to children and teens here in Matthews through the Department of Social Services. Those young ladies were also gold medalists. So we cannot be more proud. And I'm pretty sure these girls put Matthews on the map.
Oh, yeah.
They put Matthews on the map. They were the best behaved. I didn't have any issues. Their rooms were clean when it was time to leave. It was absolutely a spectacular trip. Our next stop is Washington, D.C., which during the I can't say it, but anyway, that thing, the 250, it's a great opportunity for some of these kids who have never been to Washington, D.C., because we stopped the field trips up to D.C. for a season. Some of these girls have never been to Washington, D.C. So Ms. Hayes and I we've put the word out. So I hope the public forgives me for standing with my tin cup. I'm going to get one engraved with my name on it in FCCLA, I promise. We are working towards a very expensive endeavor because almost all of these young ladies want to attend. There are 11 of the 25 who are currently scheduled to compete in the nationals. And then 5 additional that are second in line to compete. So they have to be registered in order to have that opportunity. It's a very expensive trip, and we are working hard. We will be at Mayfair. We wanted everybody to see what the kids had done here, and we are going to be at Locust Grove Church to thank them for their donations, and wherever else that will have us. So we are looking forward to seeing this through, and they will compete July 6th through the 10th. We leave on the 5th, and we're ready to go. So if you would give them one more huge hand.
Fantastic. Ms. Hayes, Ms. Williams, this is what it's all about. You are the leaders making leaders. This is an unbelievable story. Where do you go from here? That's what I asked Ms. Hayes. I mean, only up, I know. We can't say enough about you and wish you the best of luck in July at Nationals. Great job, young ladies. Great, amazing job. Board members, you have a comment or two?
What a great time to go to DC.
Absolutely.
You know, you couldn't have picked a better place or better time of it, so that's very exciting, that they're able to go, and I look forward to hearing all about it when they return.
Just watch, it'll be there.
Yes.
We actually, Maya Schrader, one of the CHKD project girls, 2 years ago actually started trying to implement a booster program for FCCLA specifically. So that is a potential for us, because I know the community is probably getting very tired of hearing me beg for money. But if it were coming through the boosters, it might make it a little easier so that it's not all falling to people and the families. But our local churches have jumped in, and they have rallied around these girls and us and supported us with every step of the way. We also found out this weekend that the World's Fair is going to be in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall while we are there. The World's Fair. So there's a potential, if we raise enough money, that we might be doing that as well.
And
So.
yes, we accept cash, checks, and credit.
Venmo, Cash App.
And if we could, we would, but that violates our financial policies.
Ms. Diggs has a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say thank you for what the teachers you all are doing, have done, will do. And it is wonderful to see some of these students that I saw a number of years ago in the classroom. Hats off to you all. And I have a tin cup also.
Yes. Thank
Great
you
job.
all. Thank
Great
you.
job, everyone.
Yes.
The bus drivers are trying to get together and get some money. We'll have a 10 cup for you.
Oh, my goodness.
I told you all I wasn't
Let
gonna
go, you
cry.
guys.
You are well loved and supported.
Thank you.
Great job, Mrs. Williams.
It takes a village,
It does.
and we have a really good one. It takes a village.
Yes, with you. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a comment too.
Yes, Ms. Bohannon Stewart?
I've been listening in, and I just want to thank Ms. Williams and Ms. Hayes. I know what they do takes so many hours outside of normal required school hours, and you know, when they should be taking a break from school and everybody else is taking a break from school, they aren't. And I just really appreciate, you know, all that you do for our students, and we are so lucky to have you. Thank you.
So, agreed. Very, very good. So true. Moving on now to item 3. We have questions or comments from our school board student representative. Ms. Ward, good to see you tonight.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so here's the report for Matthews Elementary School. Family Literacy Night, themed Step Right Up into Reading, was a huge success thanks to the incredible planning of our reading leadership team. The evening kicked off with a carnival-themed dinner, followed by a presentation by Ms. Grothaus, who shared insights on MTSS for families. Next, families received a passport and traveled through a variety of carnival-inspired stations set up in the gym. To wrap up the night, students gathered in the cafeteria for a drawing, popcorn, and snow cones. It was a joyful evening filled with learning, laughter, and a shared appreciation of reading. Matthews Elementary School would like to thank Concerts by the Bay, Matthews Community Foundation, and Virginia Commission for the Arts for bringing a performance by the Virginia Stage Company to our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. Our students loved Green Beats, a play about the importance of recycling. The performance was engaging, and the students had a great time. Last week, Mrs. McClare, Mrs. Edmonds, Ms. Haynes, and our 3rd and 4th grade teachers and students hosted a fabulous patriotic-themed showcase in honor of the VA 250. It was a very cute performance, and the crowd gave rave reviews. Thank you to the VA 250 committee for judging the students' artwork and for providing the winners with cash prizes. You can see the winners on the Matthews Elementary School Facebook page. Last week, the MES family purpled up for military kids, and tomorrow we will get fancy for our spring pictures. We are preparing for kindergarten camp, which will be hosted at Matthews Elementary School on May 21st at 5 p.m. It will be an informative evening to help set students and families up for success for the upcoming school year. Please tell everyone you know to get their rising kindergarten students registered so they can attend. We can't wait to meet our new friends. Everyone's staying focused and working hard so that they can finish the year strong. Here's the report for the Thomas Hunter Middle School Seahawks. They have had a great month. Congratulations to our students who placed at the FCCLA State Convention. For food innovations, we have the Crab Pepper Poppers by Lily McDaniel and Macy Kenyon. They got first place gold and were national qualifiers. For career investigations, we had Women on the Police Force by Savannah Keel. She got bronze, and congratulations to Madison Ball and McKinley Wyatt for their work at the competition. Mrs. Williams and her FCCLA students are working on a VA 250 celebration cookbook. If you're interested in submitting a recipe for the book, please contact her at Matthews High School with a delicious recipe. Thomas Hunter Middle School faculty and staff would like to say a big thank you to the Matthews 250 organization for supporting 7th grade students to attend a trip to the Virginia Capitol. Students had a great time learning about Virginia law and had an opportunity to picnic at Maymont Park. Thank you, Matthews 250. The following students were selected by their teachers as Students of the Month. Congratulations to Giovanni Ardilla, Lily Anderson, Naomi Vicente, and Aubriana Daniel. Friday, April 24th, there will be a vaccination clinic for rising 7th grade students. Forms were sent home last week if parents are interested in using this service. The Matthews Health Department will be here to administer vaccines, and if parents are interested in having vaccines done at school, please be sure to send the forms back to school. THMS is excited about the new transition to one pre-K through 7 school. As part of the transition phase, the THMS office will be relocated to Matthews Elementary School starting on Monday, April 27th. Here are some of the logistics. Thomas Hunter Middle School students will continue to enter and exit Thomas Hunter as they have all year. The school phones will be forwarded to Matthews Elementary, and the office staff at MES will support our students. Any student who arrives after 8:30 will need to go to Matthews Elementary School to enter the building, as there will be no one in the Thomas Hunter Middle School office to allow them into the building. If any parent needs to pick up a student early, please go to Matthews Elementary School, and the MES staff will call into the classroom for them to leave. There will be someone manning the Thomas Hunter Middle School office again at 2:30 to support our Seahawks at the end of the day. We know this is going to be a change for our school, but we feel confident that the transition to one consolidated main office will be a smooth one as we prepare for the fall. Thank you for your support to our staff and students. And then for the high school, April has been a very exciting month as our juniors and seniors prepare for prom this Saturday. In March, students from our journalism and yearbook classes visited the studio of WTKR News Channel 3 for a live taping of the morning show, and then toured the newsroom and studio, learning how each aspect of the organization works. We also enjoyed great music from our jazz band and percussion ensemble at our coffee shop jazz fundraiser on March 25th. Students participated in mock interviews as part of our career exploration in March, followed by Career Day on March 19th. Students in 8th grade explored courses in our Career and Technical Education department, and we really appreciate the help of Matthews 4-H with our reality store for freshmen. Sophomores and juniors had the opportunity to listen to speakers from various career fields, while seniors worked on scholarship applications after participating in their mock interviews. Congratulations to the members of our Blue Devil Band for their great assessment performance in March. They received a superior rating in sight reading and an overall excellent rating. We had many of our students qualify for area band, and congratulations to Hunter Owens for being recognized for all-state band. The 70 students of the Key Club have been very busy during the past month as well. They collected food items for the Gloucester Matthews Humane Society and made dog toys from recycled t-shirts. They also raised $600 from bingo night to enhance the courtyard at Matthews High School. The Key Club also traveled with their faculty advisor, Miss Morse, to the Key Club Capital District Convention for the first time and were very well represented. Many of our student leaders attended the Jostens Leadership Collaborative event at Gloucester High School at the beginning of April with Mrs. Newsom and Mrs. Hubbard. We really appreciate the fun and positive ideas they brought back to share with our students. Congratulations to all of our students who participated in the FCCLA State Leadership and Recognition Conference in Virginia Beach. 3 teams earned bronze awards, 3 teams earned silver, and there were 5 teams from Matthews who earned gold and qualified for nationals. This is truly an honor. We really appreciate the hard work of our students, as well as Mrs. Williams and Mrs. Hayes for all of their hard work in achieving success.
Great report. Thanks, Ms. Ward. Item 4.1 under student achievement is a STAR data report from Dr. Daniel.
All right, so we've, am I on? Is it delay? Red microphone. Testing, Bueller. Okay, we've heard, seen great examples of student achievement already tonight, from athletic competition to sort of our FCCLA students and the just real world projects that they're participating in. So we'll talk a little bit about sort of the more the mundane sort of academic aspect of student achievement with our STAR report. So tons of, again, so every time I go through STAR data, it's a slide with a lot of numbers on it, so I've tried a couple different ways to sort of break that down. One of the things I want the board and folks in attendance, but also at home, to also keep in mind is that, and it's kind of hard to see, but in that 24-25 column, STAR was renormed. So they renormed all of their benchmarks and their sort of expected measures after COVID. So those norms went down, which meant that there was an opportunity for what I would say artificial or inflation of student achievement. So we adjusted our norms to stay the same when STAR adjusted in 24-25. So I say that, so as we see the growth from the 24-25 and into this year, that's based on a higher set of expectations than the typical STAR norms. So we kept our norms kind of the same to have a little higher expectation. And we talked, I think back in January, when we talked about the winter screening, really starting to see some traction in the MTSS process and the benefit from our HQIM materials and all-in tutoring and just a lot of the initiatives that we've been able to put in place for student instruction. So just, I'm going to highlight a couple of things. So looking at it in a couple different ways. So when we look at reading in second grade, so that fall screening, we started at 28% of our students were reading at benchmark. So that's in early September when that fall screening took place. At our spring screening, which was right before spring break, and so everybody's antsy, everybody's ready to go for spring break, it's warm outside, spring fever is hitting. But the growth from 28% up to 63% is significant. So the work from those second grade teachers, those families, our reading specialists are to be commended. And keeping in mind too, most of our grade levels are somewhere around the 55, at the elementary school, or about 55 students per grade level. So every student is about kind of 2 percentage points. So you can kind of think through, like, apply that percentage and kind of divide by 2 to get you to the actual number of students. So another way to look at it too is looking at last year's second grade group and this year's second grade group. Different group of kids, but same grade level. So in the spring last year, second grade was at 42%. Now this year's second grade group looking at 63%. Again, large gains made. Okay, but let's look at the same kids. So last year in second grade, we had 42, again, that 42%. This year in the spring, that same group of kids is now has 56% of our kids meeting that benchmark, that national benchmark for being on grade level. Okay, last year's group in third grade to this year's group in fourth grade. Again, trying to compare same cohort of kids. Last year that group about the same time, 56%. This year at 69%. Again. All right, so taking a look at reading in grades 6 through 8. Again, highlighting a couple things. So looking at just the number of students at benchmark from the winter moving into the spring, but also looking at the number of students who are sort of moving up from urgent into intervention to on watch and then into benchmark. So there's kind of a flow of students who, while they might not quite be at benchmark, they're not at intervention. They're sort of moving up to on watch. The number of students, well, it looks like one less student who was in that urgent category, but starting like the interventions, the extra time, the tutoring, starting to pay off. Again, just growth in that grade level, in that sixth grade level over the year. So a growth, again, from students who are at benchmark, and again, starting to see the number of students who may have been at that intervention level are now sort of kind of trickling up, up the achievement ladder, if you will. Again, so looking at another way to look at it too, we talked a little about kind of following that cohort. So following that cohort from 7th grade last year during the spring, looking at that group again this year. So the reduction in the number of students who are at that urgent level, that number reducing from 13 down, or that percent reducing from 13 down to 5. A slight increase in the number of students who are at benchmark level. So again, just seeing growth coming from hard work and tutoring. All right, transitioning a little bit to look at math. Math's probably where we've made the largest gains in grades kind of second through 8th grade. So looking at, again, just second grade, gains for this year, you can look at just the number of students at the benchmark level, but I think it's also important to look at the number or the percent of students at the urgent and intervention level in the fall, and then kind of go across 2 more columns and just see the massive growth in second grade in math. Comparing grade levels, so last year 3rd grade, this year 3rd grade, sort of where we were last year at a 58% of our students at benchmark, this year being at 70%. You can also look at where that 3rd grade group started in the fall at 43% on benchmark to now being at 70% on benchmark. Again, just quite large gains. And then following that cohort, this year's 4th grade group, what they looked like in 3rd grade, now at 70% at benchmark, last year at 58%. Looking at grades 6, 7, and 8 in mathematics, again, some gains in that 6th grade group, moving up from 51% up to 62%, a reduction in the number of students identified at that intervention level, and a reduction in the number of students who are at that on watch. Again, kind of same pattern in 7th grade. And then again at 8th grade. Okay. Any questions on STAR? Again, STAR is somewhat linked to, it's supposed to be aligned with SOL, so it gives us some diagnostic, it gives teachers some diagnostic tools for skills that may need reteaching or further development. So this is coupled with CIP, that we're in the first year of using CIP benchmarks to kind of, that would be more criterion based. So we're kind of trying to see how that CIP benchmark works for predictability for us for SOL testing. So I can do some reporting on that in the summer once we get a little better idea of, once we get some SOL scores back and we can start taking a look at those CIP benchmarks. So I'm optimistic with growth from last year, what we saw, kind of where our kids were, star performance, and then how that looked on last year's SOL test compared to where we are right now and what that looks like. So I'm optimistic about kind of SOL testing season coming up in a few short weeks. Ms. Hodges, I think you had a question.
Is it the same level test that they take throughout, or is it more challenging?
It
level?
grows with them
It
over
grows
the years.
with- okay.
So the mark keeps moving up as
Okay.
they go along.
Thank you.
My question is regarding the MTSS effort and how that's been coming along in terms of protocols and implementation and experience level. Is that contributing meaningfully to the digging into these numbers and really addressing kids'
Absolutely.
specific needs?
So the Friday before spring break, we made the great decision to have professional development on the day before everybody leaves for spring break, and it actually worked. It worked out pretty well. So the kids got a head start on spring break, but our MTSS coaches came in. We had a half-day session here at the high school, had a quick turnover, then had half day. I think it was hour and a half, maybe 2 hours here at the high school, and then we transitioned over to the other campus and worked for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, talking about kind of the overall philosophy with MTSS, reinforcing that understanding with teachers. Why are we doing the things that we are doing? How all of these different assessments sort of fit under the umbrella of MTSS, and how it's evolving, and we're getting a little bit better, incrementally better, each day, each month, each meeting. The principals have done a good job of systematically putting consistency with data meetings and what questions we are asking with data meetings, what data we are relying on to make decisions. The teachers have bought into the MTSS process. They're participating in CIP, the Comprehensive Instructional Program that is developing the benchmarks. They're doing training. So we've got a pretty broad group of people who are involved in the MTSS process. So it's not just the 3 people who are saying this is what we are going to do. We've been able to sort of grow the leadership and grow that within the schools and allow it to spread. And I think the teachers are starting to see the benefits of the process. It's not a program. It's not just you open the book and follow the script. It's a process. You morph it to fit what works in your building or your division. The timeline is completely flexible. So, we've gone about this much more slowly than I think I would have initially wanted it to do. But I think I tend to act quickly. So I think having the MTSS coaches has allowed the process to really marinate and go slowly and allow the time for the buy-in and the process to take hold. So it's not a quick fix.
No.
It's not an overnight kind of thing. It's I want more now, but I think again, I met with a math teacher after the meeting we had here at the high school. And so he had some concerns about the validity of the math STAR data because in the winter screening, Google Lens was still active on the Chromebooks. Well, Google Lens is an AI product that the students were using to answer the questions on the STAR math test and also in the some of the CIP activities. So once we kind of realized what was happening, Mr. Anthony worked to deactivate Google Lens. But I shared with him the difference in the 8th grade math from winter to spring. And so there is a slight drop off, but it's not as dramatic as what he was expecting it to be. But it also allowed me to show him, I keep a master spreadsheet on all the STAR data. So I was showing him the growth in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. So he could see that each year that foundation gets a little bit higher. And so as they're getting high school students, the math skills each year are going to be broader and stronger and deeper, that they won't have to go back as far to reteach. We're sending the high school stronger math students year after year after year, stronger readers year after year after year. So he was quite encouraged, both from the impact of Google Lens, but also the impact from this training session that he had just sat through.
Excellent. Slow, steady,
Any other questions?
stable progress.
Yep.
Good. Very good.
All right. I'm gonna keep that.
On item 5, citizens' questions, comments, or requests. Comments not pertaining to personnel or student matters. Protocol for public comment period. Matthews County residents and school employees wishing to speak should sign up with their name and address on the sheet provided. Each individual will have 3 minutes to speak. Comment period will end after 90 minutes. All comments should be directed to the school board. Speakers shall not address matters involving students or personnel, as these topics may violate confidentiality and are not appropriate in a public forum. Public comment is the school board's opportunity to listen to the speaker. Since our purpose is to hear from you, the board will not engage in dialogue with the audience or whomever is at the podium. Matters requiring a response will be directed to the superintendent for research and response. The superintendent may report back on such matters at a subsequent business meeting session as appropriate. The school board carefully considers your comments when deciding on matters brought before us. We appreciate your attendance and your input. Mr. John Mathieson is our first speaker at the podium. Bless you.
Good evening, everyone. It is coming up into May. We're going to have a Dine to Donate. And I'm here on behalf of the GICL Foundation. So it will be Tuesday, May 12th at Richardson's, lunch and dinner. And this is going to be one of our dedicated Dine to Donate, which means the money that is raised will be dedicated to one purpose, and that is going to be student and classroom supplies for the 2026 and 2027 school year. So please come out and support us so we can help take the burden off the teachers for next year's supplies. I also like to thank our sponsors, who we can't do this without them, and the community. And our sponsors for this are basically New Point Life Services, Ware Neck Produce, and Water Pro. So I'd like to thank them for their generous donations to this as well. This helps us raise money for lots of fun things. This is the type of thing that we can we can get very involved with the National FCCLA and donate money to that to help make that possible for them, and that's already been done. And I also would like to announce that we have made our scholarship appointments for this year they're both $1,000 scholarships. And we usually give out one per year. And this year, we decided, what the heck, let's give two. So the two recipients this year are Miss Ellie Congrove and Miss Morgan Stearns. And we couldn't be more proud of both of them. Ellie will be going to the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, and Morgan will be going to Christopher Newport University. So again, it's our pleasure to do so, and we hope we see everyone on Tuesday, May 12th at Richardson's for our next Donate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathieson. Thank you for all the hard work that you do for our schools. Get it on the calendar, everybody. We do not have anybody else signed up on the sheet. Would anyone else like to approach? Mr. Childress, please state your name and address.
All right, can't get that to work. Ken Childress, Hodgson, Virginia. I just want to thank the board for their support of the robotics program. We're working on the auto shop to change it into a classroom lab. We've already got that. And I have a friend, Max Albert, and he's going to tell his experience with the competition in robotics.
Wonderful.
Hey, thank you. My name is Maxwell Alpert. I'm a Virginia Tech grad and municipal and wastewater control systems engineer. But before all that, the reason I drove up here from Poquoson, I was a straight C student through 10th grade. And obviously something changed for me to go to Virginia Tech. It wasn't because I wasn't intelligent, it's because I did not have a vision for what I wanted to do in my life. First, robotics, and robotics programs like it are what changed that. Pretty much within 6 months of Atlee High School up in Mechanicsville creating its robotics program, I finally found a purpose for everything I was learning. The math, the science, everything. We created our team every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Most importantly, we would all find time to visit the school 8 hours on Saturday and work on our designs, work on our graphic arts, work on the program for the robot, build the robot, do some fundraising, and you know, it really, in the end, ultimately what it does is it almost kind of simulates what it's like to work at an actual company, because it requires all those moving parts, not just engineers and programmers. You know, it changed my life, obviously. I was on a fast track to go nowhere. And you never know how many students are going to change their life because they finally see something to do with what they're learning. So I want to, you know, just advocate, find ways to allow as much time as the students need in this program at the school. Parents can contribute as much as they want to, whether it's carpool driving, making meals for the students, or even helping, you know, build the robots, design the robots. So I just want to thank you guys for giving me the time tonight. I know it's a 3-minute window. Got a long drive home, but thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Mr. Albert, thank you for being here. This is a wonderful testimonial to the robotics, the concept of this class and club. And Mr. Childress is a silent warrior in that effort, but we appreciate you augmenting his testimonies of how it's changing children's lives and young adults' lives.
Oh, yeah.
Great, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to approach the podium tonight?
Bobby Dobson, 1050 Roan Point, Cobbs Creek, Virginia. I was looking at your expenditures to date and noticed fuel, wasn't a whole lot of money designated for fuel. And I was looking at spare parts. So before the end of the year, I would top off my fuel and get some extra spare parts that you can look and see what your record would be for the year. So you spend that money and you're that far ahead for next year. Also, let's get back to the bus supervisor. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to be hurting if you don't have somebody to replace Mr. Royal. You can't divide that in between two people. Neither one of them have a certified license to inspect buses, and I imagine their management skills are not that great. They're mechanics, so I would highly advise that you come up with the money from somewhere. We still got the slush fund for the books. Might be a good place to pull it out of. But I hope we will find a wood shop teacher before school starts. You're gonna have 40-some students, I imagine, that would not be taking that class at all grade levels. And I hate to see that not happen. These young people that were here tonight goes to show you that if you start people off at the community level when they're young, they'll stay with it. I mean, you've got a wonderful teachers here with the FCLA, and they learned that when they were in that class, I can guarantee you. So you got these young kids today that are picking up, hopefully replacing us old geezers that are going by the wayside one by one. Some days it worries me that we're not pushing these kids a little bit into some of this stuff. I can remember my father taking me to 2 widows when I was young. And he said, you will shovel their sidewalk and you will cut their grass, and don't you dare ask for a dime. Civics.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson. Is there anyone else who'd like to approach the podium before we close? There being none, we'll move on to item 6, Superintendent's Informational Reports. Item 6.1 is Math Pathways presentation by Mrs. Cindy Gray.
Ms. Gray, if you want the remote, I snagged it, sorry.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm here to give you an update on what we have going on with our mathematics. And this is what's happening in Matthews, but it's also what's happening statewide, okay? I was looking at you. Okay, so in February of last year, we had a House bill, and it said that each school board shall develop and adopt a policy that sets forth the criteria for students in grades 5 through 8 to be eligible to enroll in advanced or accelerated math. So it's saying we have to come up with a way to advance students in math who are passing their SOLs, making the grades, doing all the things that we want to see. And in your packet, you have our policy. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So it goes on to say that students in grades 5 through 8 who earn a grade level upper quartile score at the end of each year on their standards of learning assessment will be automatically enrolled in advanced or accelerated math, okay, provided that we offer that course. So what we did this year, because the way this rolled out, like it sounded like, well, this happened in February, right? But then we had these upper quartile scores, and VDOE provided the upper quartile scores, and those did not come to us until the end of June. So Ms. Simpson and I, the middle school principal, were really trying to come up with a plan, trying to figure it out. What could we do? What kind of resources, textbooks, and things could we provide to our students so it wasn't a haphazard, something that was just kind of put together very quickly and not well thought out. So what we decided to do was we would have advanced math in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. And, well, not 8, 5, 6, and 7, because when they, a lot of times the kids go to algebra, the kids who can go to algebra. So we decided to come up with advanced math, 5, 6, and 7. And that was right about the time that the state came out, and this was probably mid-July, and said, if you haven't rolled out a program, and about half of the state had rolled out a program without really all the resources that they needed. So the state, they came out and said, if you haven't rolled it out, you can wait and do it next year, which is where we are now.
Okay.
So we had a sigh of relief, but I was in lots of meetings with other folks who were very upset because they rolled it out because they were told they had to, and then the state said, well, wait a minute. So last summer was very busy for us, okay? So now we've got to, there's more to the bill, and let me just progress the slide. So the bill goes on to say that parents must have the opportunity to opt out their student. So we automatically enroll them, okay, if they get that upper quartile score. But a parent can say, I understand they scored well, but it's not the right fit for my child for various reasons, okay? It also says that we need to establish multiple pathways. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more about those multiple pathways, but so that it's not just one thing that can get a student in. And also, we need to inform parents of students in grades 5 through 8 annually about the criteria. What do they need to do to get into advanced classes? And then this is a really important part, according to the state, notification of middle school coursework and the impact of middle school mathematics and the mathematics courses available within the division. So kind of like a roadmap. If you do this, then this can happen, okay? So the why, this is what VDOE is telling us. The why is that if students don't get to at least Algebra 2 in high school, VDOE says that it can hinder students moving on to college. And we want to make it so more students have the opportunity to go to college, okay? So the state rolled this out in a document called Technical Resource Document for School Divisions. And it's all the pathways that they talk to different school divisions about what they were doing. And so when you look at this, it tells us different ways. So the end result being that some students get to geometry. This is not the pathway for all students, okay? It is some students. And then it can top out at geometry or it can top out at algebra, okay? So what I did is I reviewed all these materials with the local advisory gifted committee, and we talked about all the pros and cons. We did this over several meetings, and ultimately we came up with going with Pathway 2. So in 5th grade, students would get an upper quartile score. That the state tells us what that upper quartile score is, okay? We don't determine that. And then, according to Math Pathway 2, in 6th grade, they would take all of 6th grade and half of 7th grade math. And then in 7th grade, they would take that second half of 7th grade math, all of 8th grade, and then in 8th grade, they would take geometry. Again, this is not for every student, okay? They have to demonstrate that they are ready for this, all right? So some ideas for the development of portfolios, because remember we talked about multiple pathways. We could have a team approach, including our math specialist, principal, assistant principal, one or the other, teachers, and then we would look for teacher, parent, and student recommendation because sometimes if a student really wants to do something and they put their mind to it, it's good to give them the opportunity. We could also have a data review, and we could use, these are assessments that we already have in place. NNAT 3 is given in 2nd grade. The MAP, which is Measures of Academic Achievement, is given in 4th grade. We have STAR data, which also gives us a percentile. We have SOL data. We have grades. We have parent and teacher recommendations. Like, the teachers know who are very strong in math. And the strength in this is that one isolated data point does not prevent a student from getting in. Like, we're looking for multiple data points that demonstrate achievement. And so that's all I have. I wanted to give you an update on that, but I know you may have some questions. Yes, ma'am.
So Pathway 2 does not include geometry. So if a student was very gifted in math, would that preclude them from being able to get to geometry by the 8th grade? Because we've had students over the years that have, in
We have.
fact,
We have.
and some taking algebra 2, I believe, in the 8th grade, but, so would that preclude them from being able to do that?
So this is the beginning of laying out that plan, and then we will continue that talk and how can students get to geometry. That's what I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, you've heard lots of talk about the CIP. Okay, so the CIP will support this because they will provide pacing guides for these new classes, because right now we don't teach 6th grade in half a 7, right? So they will provide the pacing guides, they will provide the benchmarks, and they will provide kind of unit assessments, chapter tests, things like that.
I think another thing, just for the board to keep in mind is I don't think we went into depth, or Mr. Gray really didn't go into depth in terms of handouts for quartiles and trying to overwhelm with numbers. And part of it's not how a student scores on the SOL test. So it's not, I think traditionally we've looked at, well, if they got a 500, if they passed advanced. This isn't that metric. It's if they were in the top quartile of the students who took it that year. So the top quartile may be for Math 6, it may be a 435. So that would not, I think, traditionally you wouldn't suggest somebody who had a 425, a 435, a 445, you recommend that student for an advanced math track program. So there's some debate within the state on this legislation. Some of the background on this too was that some school divisions didn't offer advanced pathways, and whether that's because of not having high school certified math teachers available to teach in the middle school, you're not able to bus them from one campus to another. And there's probably some school divisions who said, well, I want to keep all my really high math achievers in that grade level assessment because it's going to help our SOL scores. I hope that's not the case, and I hope it's more related to staffing. But there's, some of that strategy goes into the former ways of looking at accreditation and stuff. So we've had pathways for students to accelerate through mathematics. We're trying to be responsive to the legislation and adjust our pathway, working with partners, making sure we've got the right resources. Ms. Gray's been in consultation with the Gifted Advisory Committee to get their input and their suggestions and their thoughts on this.
Regardless of that quartile score, it is across the state. So like Dr. Daniel said, maybe it's higher in one grade level and lower in the other grade level, but it's based on across the state. So this is how kids are performing, based on how kids are performing in that grade level, to make that an upper quartile, if that makes sense.
Go ahead, Steve. Ms. Gray, with the good report that Dr. Daniel just gave us with math, you see am I not on? Okay, do you see a lot more students being able to participate now in this advanced math?
Well, at the middle school right now, we have 3 sections of math, because remember, Dr. Daniel said we have 55 to 60 kids per grade level. So that's about 20 kids, 3 sections, so that's about 20 kids in each class, approximately.
Right.
And then we have 1 section of advanced math per grade level, and those teachers are trying to push those kids, give them opportunity, and they were based on scores. Like I said, Ms. Simpson and I last summer sat down and really tried to look at those scores, And we had some shock and awe when we got when upper quartile scores were released to us, because we were just kind of surprised, but it is what it is, and we're trying to, like Dr. Daniel said, follow the legislation and, you know, adhere to it. And so, it's a year of figuring it out, but like I said, we do have about 20 kids, give or take, in each grade level.
Thank you.
Do you have on-ramp, off-ramp for children who it may not have been the right decision for
Right.
them to go into that? And how's that gonna work?
So what you see, so say in so they get an upper quartile score in 5th grade, right? Say they take 6th grade in half of 7, and that doesn't go well. They can go into 7th grade math.
Okay. Okay.
The following year.
Okay. All right, so these kids will be monitored and be watching for this. Now, how about on-ramps after 5th grade?
Well, I think that's something we have to work on, but again, because we are very small, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And so then the consideration would be jumping a grade level, which is because in 6th and 7th grade math becomes increasingly difficult.
Right.
Lots of algebraic functions
Yes.
introduced there, so
Yes.
it's difficult. So trying to manage that.
Yeah, be tough. I think this is a great addition overall.
McAfee. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Questions, more questions or comments, or?
Thank you, it's very
It's
helpful.
great, very
Just
interesting.
one quick comment, Ms. Gray. I know you said that you have chosen Pathway 2, which gets the student into Algebra 1 by 8th grade. I believe, it's been a long time, I think I took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. But otherwise, for instance, if you look down to Pathway 4, I know we're not following that, but just to take a quick glance at it, get them in Algebra 1 by 7th grade, Geometry by 8th grade. I'm a basics kind of person, get the basics first. Are we trying to fast track, are we trying to get these students too far, too fast, in other words, and not cover the basics?
I understand. I completely understand what you're saying. I believe that it's very few kids that are ready for geometry. They're the exception for geometry in 8th grade. And we probably have had 6 to 6-ish per year do that in the past. So, and like looking at opportunities to sort of separate that out, because a lot of times when they get to the high school, what happens is they take that geometry in 8th grade, algebra 2 in 9th grade. Many of those kids, and we're talking 6, so maybe 3 of those kids head to governor's school, and then find, continuing them through math. There are scheduling conflicts, there are things that prevent them from being able to continue their math journey. And sometimes they putter out on math because they've done it too much, too soon, kind of.
Right. My observation when I was teaching was that I had a lot of students in my class that were very good at advanced math. They caught it, but they missed the basics somewhere.
Right.
They struggled with fractions and, just in the multiplication tables, they really struggled with that. So I'm just concerned, I don't want to see us concentrate on getting them too far, too fast, and miss the basics.
Well, and this, again, even algebra is not for everybody in 8th grade.
Right.
Again, we're talking a small group.
I would say in many ways, this kind of slows that track down a touch. And I think nationally, or at least at the state level, the pendulum has swung a bit from, I think, 7 years ago, it was hurry, 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 Algebra 1 in 8th grade for everybody. And I think that, I think kids were just kind of being pushed through in order to get that Algebra 1 in 8th grade for everybody. And so I think the they've seen that that doesn't work particularly well, so kind of pulling back a bit on that trend.
Good, good. I hate to miss the basics.
And to that point, how does this jive with the new math standards? I mean, I'm sure this whole thing was taken, looked at comprehensively. To Mr. Morgan's point about making sure that with the revised standards, that those basics are really hit and are solid, so that the kids are more competent to go on to these higher level courses. What's your take on that?
Well, we all acquire skills over our lifetime. And we have skills that if we don't use them, they're not as fresh and polished. And some of us can keep those math facts and roll with them, and some of us cannot. And so, you need to have that practice. And I don't know exactly how to answer that question, but everybody has different capacity and.
So I would add that this is legislation that came out of the General Assembly, whereas math standards come out of the Virginia Department of Education. So there's not always coordination in those efforts and recommendations back and forth. So legislators going to legislate, and DOE is going to work on curriculum development and things along those lines. So I think if you remember, I think over the summer we talked a little bit about cut scores and a push to increase cut scores. Well, one of the things that with those increased cut scores was the cut score would be higher than the upper quartile performance of some students. So we would be pushing students into advanced math who, with the new cut scores, would not have even passed.
Right.
So there's, again, that's where you get that tension between legislation coming through General Assembly versus what's in the VDOE.
And I don't know if Dr. Daniel or Ms. Hunley have learned anything new, but I still do not know if the cut scores from last year will stand or if we anticipate new cut scores.
I don't think anybody knows where the cut scores
So
are.
that's
Week meets tomorrow and
Yep.
Thursday, so TBD.
Right.
So that's kind of the conundrum we're in, where we're attempting to implement this, and we'll be waiting for, like last year I said, it was the end of June before we found out what an upper quartile was. And in some divisions, school was starting August 10th.
Yeah.
That's no time to really.
I think I appreciate the fact that you do this, take this step slowly and do it wisely.
We're trying.
And monitor carefully, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for this
Thank
update.
Thank you, ma'am.
Item 6.2, the attendance update.
All right, thank you. All right, so a quick look at March attendance. I think there was a little concern in February because some of our numbers had jumped up. So I was beginning to have some concern about chronic absenteeism, kind of where we were with, in February. We had some snow and kind of recovery from snow days and flu and various other things. So March, in short, looks a whole lot better in comparison to last year. So we're very much back on track. So you can take a look and see. I tend to scroll across and go to that last column and where are we in terms of chronically absent students. So this year we're at the high school, again, 38 right now compared to 58 this time last year. That, if we hold at that number, that keeps us below that 15% mark. I think we're at about 12. This is about 12 to 13% of our students would be at chronically absent. We want to be below 15% of our students being considered chronically absent. Last year, we finished the year at about, I think, 18. So we're on track right now, but these last 2 months are critical for attendance, especially at the high school. making sure students are attending and making sure we have all the documentation. Again, great, looking solid at the middle school and the elementary school. One observation too from March to February, just the number of tardies and the average number of students tardy each day has bumped up as the weather has gotten a bit warmer. I don't know, we could try to do some digging to kind of, is there a pattern? Is it, more students have taken on jobs in the spring as they've gotten older and gotten driver's licenses, so they're working later? Is it sports coming in a little bit later? Not really, not super sure. But I do want to, I want you to take a quick look between February and March. So what's on the screen right now is February. So if you look at, again, going to that last column, so for just taking the high school, for example, so 34 students who were chronically absent compared to 30 this time last year in February, okay? That number, so the number jumped from 30 in February last year to 58 in March. It almost doubled, okay? Our rate of increase, we went from 34 to 38. So last year we saw a huge jump, again, in the spring that ruined that chronic absentee rate. You see kind of the numbers similarly for the middle school and the elementary school. Again, looking at February, looking at 5 students that time last year, 11 last year, but then it jumped from 5 to 23 in a month's time, 11 to 39 in a month's time last year. So it's just critical for us to keep a handle, keep working with families on attendance, making sure students continue to attend every day, and doing Miss Thomas and the office staff at the schools are doing a great job working on attendance and communicating attendance. So we're in a good place compared to this point last year, but it's making sure that we remain in a good place regarding attendance, and we're prioritizing students coming to school. As the weather gets warmer, we're approaching summer break and all those things. Any questions about attendance? Okay, I'll ask Ms. Hunley to do a financial report where she's going to go into a little bit more depth with some slides this go round. Thank you, Ms. Hunley.
Good evening. In your packets this time I included a financial summary that, in addition to the line item report, and this just highlights the summary of the different categories that we receive for state, federal, the locality, and other local funds, and this is a snapshot of the operating fund. So as of the end of March, we received 70% of our revenues that we budgeted. And moving to the expenditures, this is just a snapshot. It's broken down with in between different categories. You'll see the total for Thomas Hunter, Matthews High School, the elementary school, and then instructional support. And the gray bar is the total for the whole instruction for that whole function. And I know you see a lot of negatives in there. So just next month, we will do an amendment to our fiscal year 26 budget once we have our final ADM, so that we would true up all those lines that are in the negative. And the administration and health services, you got pupil transportation, and at the bottom, you see what grants. The grants fund, majority of it was budgeted in Title I. I think it's just like a budgeting thing that we'll adjust next month to make sure that we have the right funds listed for the right grants. And anything that's zero, again, we will adjust that in the amended budget. And so far as for operating fund, we have expended 63.87% of our budgeted.
so I just wanted to highlight some grants that we have. So in fiscal year '24, the All-In grant was distributed to school divisions. We received over $240,000, and that was split between 3 years. Coming into fiscal '26, we had $147,000 still remaining that we had to spend. If not, it will be returned to the state. So working with VDOE and the Budget and Finance Office, we determined some other areas that we can spend this money down so we don't have to actually return any. Just waiting for them to approve our amended budget for All-In. So we won't have to return those funds. The Early Childhood Grant and the I Teach Supplemental Grant, those are 2 grants that supports licensure. And Ms. Hunley has been great as far as picking up grants and applying for grants that are out there from BDOE to make sure that we are supporting our teachers as much as possible. The VTSS grant is $40,000 that we received this year. And again, that's to help support MTSS. So that has been a great assistance to that program. And also we have the Math Acceleration Grant and the Math Innovation Grant are 2 grants that help support math. Of course, the Acceleration Grant helps to teachers that want to expand their endorsements in math. So if they wanted to pick up another endorsement, there's funds for them to actually be able to do that. And the Math Integration Grant, again, it supports the math instruction through HQIM for K-12. And that's over $200,000, and that's going to really help us next year when we're implementing the new standards for math for K through 12. And we also received the School Improvement Grant. It's only for Thomas Hunter, and it started from February until September 2026. So that's just specifically for the students with disability in reading and mathematics. And for medical reimbursements this year, we were able to actually get reimbursed for all Medicaid eligible students. In the past, it's only been for students with IEPs. So this year we were able to submit our cost settlement for last year. We receive interim payments through the year for the current year, but the cost settlement is always done in the next year behind. And we were able to, as you see, for fiscal year '25, it was $122,000, and fiscal year '24 was $48,000. So we more than doubled our cost settlement for reimbursements through Medicaid. And are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Could you elaborate on exactly what you mean by cost settlement? I mean, you bill them, they pay you. I don't understand what cost settlement means.
Sure. So during the year, they have providers that provide services for OT, PT, speech, nurses, and our school psychologists. And they go into a system, and anytime they work with a student that's Medicaid, they go in and put that in their hours that they work for towards billing. So the cost settlement is basically, so we're taking all of those things that we didn't get billed for during the year and truing up for that, because sometimes we miss stuff, or say if we also do, like, personnel is in that cost report. We also have outsourced the OT, PT that's not. We also put that in the cost report. Any materials and supplies that we use, it goes into the cost report. Bus, as far as you can do buses. Next year we are going to start to bill for transportation, so that'll be another additional revenue source that comes in.
Can I ask us a question about the school improvement grant for Thomas Hunter? Is it for the grades or just for the school? Because, I mean, you said it's through September, so Thomas Hunter in itself won't exist, like, so is it for
I believe most of the PD is actually scheduled so that it's for grades 6 and 7. So most of the PD is scheduled before school starts. So it will be done before that.
Thank you.
I have a couple, just couple comments and questions. I think the Medicaid reimbursement situation is fantastic. Thank you. Regarding the grants, are there any noticeable strings attached to these grants? Anything that seems onerous or out of the ordinary?
No, I mean, as far as, the only thing is you can't use it but for what you actually apply for.
Fine
And you
with that.
can't supplant. In other words, if, say for instance, we write a grant and we're writing it for a new teacher that we're adding to a grade level, we can't just use it for our existing teacher. We have to actually hire a new teacher and use that funds for that. And we can't go back and say that, okay, now we have this money, we'll use this to support this, different expenditure instead of, but you have to use it for what you apply for.
And these are all BDOE grants, so they're not
Okay.
like outside
Okay.
entities or private entities allocating grant opportunities or creating grant opportunities for the school division. So it's just kind of incentive grants, if you will, from the state.
And some of them are federal. The school improvement grant is a federal
That's
grant.
Okay, and finally, regarding the all-in, can we go back to the all-in? We have 147,000 remaining, and we will be able to apply that appropriately. You're confident in
Yes.
that? My question, I guess, is for Dr. Daniel. When we don't anticipate receiving additional all-in tutoring, so the benefit of this money, I think, has been significant to the progress of our students. How will we bridge that gap? Because surely this was helpful, and I'm concerned that we've needed it. And what will we do going forward?
I don't know. There's a lot of discussion within the region and across the state about the loss of all-in tutoring money and also the various ways school divisions were using it. So we will have to take a look at to be creative, other ways to either provide tutoring or intervention services during the regular school day. The bulk of what this was paying for was after-school tutoring, so additional hours for teachers to spend with students. So
Which has made a difference.
which has completely made a difference. Also, I think access to some tutoring software and things along those lines. So we'll continue to scour for other grants to see if we can at least continue to get access for some of those software programs or some of those supplemental programs. In terms of hourly wages for teachers to stay after, I don't know what that looks like in terms of finding additional monies to support teachers to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I mean, hypothetically, we could start talking about the length of our instructional day and do you extend the instructional day? But then you're just asking teachers to work longer for the same amount of money. So I don't know that that's a fair way to go about it.
Well, hopefully the benefits that we've gotten have jump-started us, and we're on a more secure path, and then you've got an eye towards looking creatively at how to bridge this gap that's going to be missing once this money's gone. Any more questions? Ms. Bohannon-Stewart, do you have anything for Mrs. Hundley?
I just want to thank her for the work on the Medicaid reimbursement. I so much appreciate that.
Agreed.
I have to also give credit to the special education administrative assistant who actually puts all that together, so.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Mrs. Hundley. Item 6.4, the reorganization of Matthews Elementary School and Thomas Hunter Middle School.
All right, so a couple updates. Our student rep, Ms. Ella Ward, kind of started talking about it, but starting Monday, April 27th, we will, due to some staffing challenges and upcoming testing schedule and needing additional staff for testing and just some reorganization, we will be closing the middle school office for the bulk of the day. There'll be a window of time in the morning as students are arriving and getting dropped off. And then again in the afternoon for students to kind of pick up bus notes and any, pickups in the afternoon. But basically, because of staffing shortages and needing to we had been working on, staff had been from other areas rotating through the Thomas Hunter office, but we're needing those staff members for other responsibilities in their home schools and other locations. And with an eye towards working on some of the wrinkles to having a consolidated school next year, we wanted to work through the workload, the additional work for 2 more grade levels. What is that volume of traffic for phone calls and those sorts of things? So working with Ms. Simpson, Ms. Bray, having trying to develop a plan. So the principals work through a little bit. So they're working on messaging and pushing out messaging, letting everybody know. We'll have some signage on the front of the school for deliveries or for the parent who forgot and they're coming to pick up for the midday dentist appointment or whatever. But basically between the hours of 8:30 and 2:30, anyone coming to or calling the middle school will be routed through the elementary school, as the bulk of that administrative work will be coming through the elementary school teachers. If there's an issue in the classroom, they can call the elementary school and radio to Ms. Simpson, who'll still be located on the middle school side of that campus. And Ms. Simpson is still going to be operating out of her same office. So they're logistically, when they would have called the middle school office for, hey, I need some sort of assistance, that's going to go to the elementary school. They'll then radio for Ms. Simpson to report to whatever room for whatever support. And phones will go out the same, but it's basically just sort of routing telephone calls and some of the pickup for students midday. Parents will need to route over to the elementary school to begin transitioning over to that model. Ms. Clark and Ms. Bray are reviewing the pickup and drop-off routines as they're starting to think through some of the plans for next year. There's already quite the line for parent drop-off in the morning and parent pickups in the afternoon, and the line that just goes to the elementary school. So they're trying to be creative in, are there different ways to break up that line? How do we, how can we route that? Do we have the supervision to have 2 different drop-off and pickup lines? Also thinking through supervision and staffing the weapons detection units for next year, and what are the points of egress and ingress for that campus. I know the elementary school admin working with teachers and staff on room assignments for next year. So they've been having conversations, coupled with work that's going on this summer, if we're able to move forward with abatements on the other half of Thomas Hunter. Those 6th grade teachers are going to have to move out of those classrooms anyway. Can we go ahead and locate those classrooms into an already rehabilitated room on what is currently the 7th grade hallway? So that would only have them move once instead of storing all your stuff in one space and then having to move in. So can we just have those teachers move once over the summer, free up those rooms? Does it all fit? We may have to, they're thinking through, what that looks like and feels like, and moving some other staff around. But they're trying to get that done as quickly as possible, so teachers know before, or with enough time to make those adjustments and pack those things. So they've been busy at work on the day-to-day things with this school year, and working on plans for next school year. Staffing and budget, all of that plays a role in it, but so does some of the maintenance stuff that comes along this summer. So we've met on some of those projects to begin mapping that out, along with what changes need to take place on that footprint. So it's getting busy. It's getting real busy real quick. So, any questions on there have been no real definitive answers yet on any of those things, but I think we're coming close to making some decisions on that. And, you know, the big first step is looking at the elementary office right now.
Thank you.
And the effective date again for the new Thomas Hunter office?
April 27th
Okay, all right.
is when that will go into effect.
6.5, facility
Six
use?
point, facilities use review. So my goal is to, well, first let me say thank you for board members supplying some feedback on kind of your thoughts based on the draft. So some of the things I would say, so for the folks out there, I created a survey, if you will, a list of questions for board members to help focus, direct where we wanted to be with the revisions for facilities use. So a lot of it had to do with length of use of the facilities, profit versus nonprofit. Does that matter? Scheduling of custodians and overall costs, and how we felt about some of those things. So board members, thank you for providing some feedback on that. I will say one of the prevailing themes is just being consistent and making sure that whatever we put in what becomes the finalized manual is that it's applied consistently. But I also think a lot of the feedback was being fair to the community in terms of not trying to price anybody out, or, you know, there was never a desire to force anybody out or price anybody out. It was a desire to try to get that consistency. But do we need to adjust some of the pricing to then make it affordable to keep some cherished traditions continuing in Matthews? So my goal, I've started working on some of that input from the board. My goal is to have another draft to you all next month for review and then approval. Then I think that would push approval to June. So I think one of the other conversation points can be, are we shooting for a July 1 implementation date? Or if we don't approve until June, does it make sense to have an implementation date, maybe January 1, as entities are already submitting facilities use requests, already well into next school year. So it may make more sense, even if we do approve in June, that some of these changes take effect then in January, to have time for adjustment. And I think a lot of our conversation has been, it's not so much about the timing as much as it is getting a manual and a practice that's right, and getting that put in place. So whether it's a July 1 start or January 1 start, I don't know that matters a ton. I've also reached out to Mr. Tillage to try to capture an estimate on kind of a per hour cost in terms of electricity usage for, say, the auditorium at the high school, just to get an idea of what's in a reasonable fee. I think what has happened in the past, the rates were based on kind of market rates, what other schools were charging for auditorium spaces or kitchen spaces or whatever, and we're pretty comparable. When those rates were approved back in '23, I think those rates are pretty comparable to other school auditoriums and facilities around us. So I don't think those are necessarily kind of out of whack. So, any questions from board on kind of where we sit with facilities use right now?
Sounds good.
No? Okay.
Item 6.6, information for the school board.
All right, just other information for the board. Taking a look at the school-based financial reports. Those are there for your information to look at and review. Again, in the consent agenda, like all the checks are printed and reported in the consent agenda. That financial report is reported in there. But these are the school-based accounts, so keeping an idea of basically like clubs and other activities within the schools This is kind of their club balances and such. So you have in there the high school, the middle school, and the elementary schools financial reports.
Any questions or comments? No?
Not on that.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel.
You're welcome.
Moving on to item 7, School Board Informational Report. 7.1, we have school board conferences and webinars coming up. Please take a look at that, as always. And item 7.2, we have our schedule of Board of Supervisors meeting dates, and I do believe we would like to, Ms. Lau, we need to make a change to the record that Ms. Diggs attended the April Board of Supervisors meeting for Mr. Morgan, with Ms. Bohannon Stewart having the May date. Moving on to item 8, action items. 8.1, seeking the approval of the 2026-2027 CTE local plan. May I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve the 2026-2027 CTE local plan as listed.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Diggs. Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
Thanks, Mr. Morgan. Discussion. There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.2, seeking approval for the 2026-2027 Special Education Annual Plan. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Special Education Annual Plan as listed.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. May I have a second?
I second that.
Thanks, Ms. Diggs. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.3, the approval of the architectural term contracts.
Make a motion to approve the architectural term contracts as listed.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Thanks, Ms. Diggs. Do we have any discussion?
Quick question.
Yes.
What will they be, what are expectations of this for the coming year?
Okay, so the term contract basically allows the school division to have an open-ended contract with an architectural or engineering firm. So we can go make requests of them for specific tasks without having to re-RFP for every specific task.
Okay.
So it's capped by, and these are pretty significant caps for us, but it would be, I think it's no more than $1 million per task and no more than, I think, $10 million per year. Those aren't in our budget in any way, shape, or form, but that's kind of how that's capped. Right now, the three projects that we've had conversations with the county on have been looking at getting some concepts for shaping the elementary school and Thomas Hunter footprint to get it to operate more like a K-7 like school. So kind of student movement, talking about traffic flow. I mean, we talked a little bit about parent drop-off, bus loop, that kind of stuff. Are there ways to rethink the way that school functions and operates? The second piece is having conversations about the front of Thomas Hunter and making Thomas Hunter then the home of school board office. We've also had some conversations with the county about housing some, in particular, like emergency services in some of the space at Thomas Hunter. And so getting a conceptual design for what that front hallway of Thomas Hunter could look like and how it could operate then as a school board office, as an education center. And then the final project that we've had conversations about is athletics and where, how an athletic complex could look and projected costs for that for the high school. The The athletics complex has actually become a bit more pertinent due to the current light poles, and so those have deteriorated to the point where they're in need of replacement. So we anticipate taking those light poles down at the conclusion of this spring sports season, but we need to have at least a footprint plan so that we can pursue funding to plant, I guess, if you will, or I don't know a better word for it right now, but install modern light poles on that space, but with an eye towards where the field will be if it is moving. So it's trying to develop a plan, get a plan in place so that we can put the poles where they will need to be, but also hopefully with enough coverage that if we can't move the fields, by the time the light poles go in, there still will be enough light coverage to be able to have games in place. So that lighting project has sort of jumped to the forefront in the last month due to the condition of those wooden poles around the soccer field and track. Actually, they're on the inside of the track, but yes.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Dr. Daniels, time-wise with the athletic field and these people advising us, are we going to meet that timeline?
So the timeline to have the companies who do this sort of work installing light poles, they're already booked into the fall. So this isn't a project, even if we had plans in place, we would be able to do in July. So this is still going to be, our desire to get this installed will be probably by February in advance of soccer season starting to use the lights.
Thank you.
And we had a quick conversation with the architectural firm to kind of basically talk about what we just talked about in terms of the three sort of projects that are on the horizon and getting some concepts and projected costs for these projects. They're going to mock up a few things once I send them the signed contract tomorrow. They'll probably come on site and do some walkarounds. I'll need to coordinate with the county as the bulk of this funding for this concept map facility study type work is part of the county's CIP kind of bond funding. So they set aside some money for that for this work. In talking with them, it's probably a 2 to 3 month kind of, they're not doing the actual engineering plans. That would be this is looking at concepts, general ideas. This is a footprint. Let's say if we're talking just the athletics, this is what the footprint would look like. This is a bulk estimated cost for, this kind of field, this kind of surface, moving this, moving that, et cetera, that we could then begin to budget for if they're, if that's required additional bonds or budgeting for something else. But it gives us a tangible thing to look at and price out. And that's a quicker turnaround than actually doing the engineering work or developing the actual plans for running the Dominion power lines underground from this point to this point, the specs for what height pole, the grade of cement used to secure those poles, et cetera.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there still a capital planning committee? Wasn't there a committee that Mr. Morgan?
There is a
Dr. Gibbs?
planning
And
commission.
I'm not sure what we called it. And are they meeting regularly?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I think the process has morphed a little bit over the last 2 years, but I'm not super sure.
Okay.
I don't know that I can speak
Committee,
intelligently on kind of the county
a
workings with
committee
that.
that was developed to help to dovetail with the architectural plans.
I think what you're talking about is my question. It was the restructuring, the Citizen Restructuring Committee,
Right, that's it.
where we
Okay.
had elements of the community, within the schools.
And you had school,
admin.
you had staff too from the schools, right?
Yeah, are we talking
I
about
don't know, it
Are we
was
talking
the
about-
meeting of
to
the
help plan,
20
yes, to help
people
think out how
run
to.
teams, and we get the board, and we were doing you were there, and we were doing,
No, this is
not what
one
you're talking
that
about.
we had discussed previously, that as we move forward on trying to merge the two schools into one, I thought there was a committee that was helping to get input from teachers and other, previous. am I-
No, you're not crazy.
Thank
So,
you,
yes,
thank
sorry.
you.
I thought you were talking about planning commission in the
No, no,
county in
no,
terms
no,
of
no.
capital projects.
No.
No, so, the consolidation committee, yes, so in terms of, yes, so I still have the list of, hey, we would like to, when this facility study is done, or when plans are being developed, we would like to see these various things, like,
Yes.
you know, a more readily accessible library
Yes.
for the littles,
nursing.
an actual teacher's lounge, you know, a conference room that's accessible, you know, and the front office being kind of at the front of the school, those sorts of things. Yes, so there's a list of those things that we can talk about with architects as they're kind of developing a concept model for, hey, this is what you could do with this footprint for X amount of dollars. Yes.
So is that not meeting, you're waiting to get this taken care of and then you're gonna start meeting?
The consolidation committee kind of wrapped up
Oh, they did?
their work, yeah. So we met 3 times in the fall as we discussed kind of needs and ideas and sort of what they had, you know, what they wanted to see happen on a K-7 campus, yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a couple questions, and one of them was just ensuring that information that committee worked on is
Mm-hmm.
incorporated into all of this, and I'm sure.
yeah,
sure it will.
I think we're a ways from
Yeah.
developing actual drawings and plans
Of course.
and to kind of move school board office and redesigning that footprint. I think we're many months out, but I think this, at least having this term contract, gives us professionals or ready access to professionals who can put that vision on to practice, can say, okay, this is how you can reuse this building for the next 30 years to the benefit of the community, and, you know, and still honor all the things that we wanted to do.
Were there minutes from that
I don't think we have, I mean,
Ms. Hunley's, I believe, synopsize.
I have some slides kind of that summarize previous
It would be
meetings.
nice to kind of see what the ideas that you all
Okay.
came up with.
It was good, it was very
Thank you.
fruitful.
You haven't sent them out, have I missed them?
No.
Okay.
No, I think they're just being,
No, I mean, I thought we did presented on some of the resolution when we back in. I'll have to go back and.
revisit that as now it's
Sure,
coming
sure,
back
sure.
into focus.
Mhm.
I think
Do you remember that?
Okay.
we'll start that up again.
Thank you.
And I just had one final question on those polls.
Mhm.
Who was the entity, or what was the entity that determined the deterioration of those polls?
What I know for sure is we had to get light bulbs replaced. Dominion came to install the light bulbs that we purchased, and I believe it was their assessment that the poles were in need of replacement.
Dominion's assessment.
Dominion's folks, yes.
Great, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
from the inside out,
Inside
the poles
out.
were rotting.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any more discussion? No more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 9, citizens' comments on items discussed during the meeting. Same rules would apply. Do we have anybody who would like to approach the podium? Please state your name and address, as usual.
Jeannie Smith, Foster, Virginia. I'm just curious, listening to everything that's being said up here, and the money that I guess is getting ready to be spent to remodel add this and add that, but we don't have the money for Clyde Royals. And the fact that we've got a man sitting in the bus garage that can't inspect buses, so I'm assuming he's gonna have to get a license, and that's gonna be money given to him because he's gonna be further in his career, but we still don't have money for Clyde. And after seeing what Cindy Gray put up here and the workload that's on her, and now you're adding transportation to hers, I still don't understand this and why nobody up there is holding anybody accountable for what's going on. In 3 years, our schools have declined. Yes, some of the stuff that's went on here tonight from some of the teachers has been amazing. But now we've lost a school. We've lost transportation, basically, along with some amazing teachers. Our schools are going down in the past 3 years. And then you're sitting there talking about what you want to do to a school, but we don't have money for Clyde? I can't wrap my head around this. And none of y'all are holding anybody accountable. And we've got lawsuits that have been won against the school, multiple lawsuits. I'm just appalled. I cannot believe this.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Is there anyone else who would like to approach the podium? There being none, we'll move on to 9.1, school board member comments. Any comments?
Not from me.
I mean, I feel like we need to comment on what was just said. And I can understand how it's, like, on one hand, we don't have money, on the other hand, we have these, we're talking about plans down the road. What we're talking about here is what the Board of Supervisors has talked about for a good year, about getting a bond to help upgrade not just the schools, but some other buildings. So that is outside of our budget. That is a separate pot of money, so to speak. It doesn't come out of what we have in our annual budget. That has nothing to do with paying teachers, salaries, positions. So hope that clarifies that. I'm not sure who we should be holding people accountable for, because as you also just said, and I agree with you totally, people have a lot on their plates, and we've added more to it. And I recognize that. I don't like that. And it concerns me greatly. But when someone retires and they put their papers in, then we have to make decisions, whether we like it or not. We have to make decisions with that retirement work in. When I retired, I submitted it. They had to make plans on what they were going to do with my position, because I had made a decision that, and I informed them of that. And so that's exactly what we've had to do, is to make decisions based on the retirement. Did I like the fact that he retired? No, I didn't.
Can I respond to that?
Nope. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, no.
So I will just say that
He didn't retire. He
Sorry,
wasn't retired.
excuse me. Ms.
Well, I will
Hodges
just
has the
say that
floor.
anytime anybody retires, that we have to make a decision, respect that letter of retirement, and then move forward, knowing that our budget was going to be cut significantly this next year. We had to make plans that we don't like, but we have to move forward with that. And so I'm not sure who there is to hold accountable, other than we just have to do, the money we're given, we have to stretch it to make sure that our schools are functional. So I hadn't planned on saying that, but I would also say, I did want to comment on yet again what was presented to us as some of the activities in our schools, which have been exceptional. It's always exciting to hear about how our students just shine, and our athletes. They're so very accomplished. And I appreciate hearing about that because unfortunately and understandably, in the community, we often hear about things that aren't going well. So I appreciate you adding that to the agenda since you've been chair. That's very helpful. I also want to comment on Ms. Bray and what the students in the elementary school did. It presented last week about the 250. I had a friend that attended that and was blown away with how creative the students were and what they were able to present with the Virginia 250. So I do wanted to compliment on that as well. Thank you, Dr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodges. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Diggs?
I think we all speak about what is so directly on our hearts and what affects us, and that is normal and logical. And I hear what you ladies have been saying. There are, as Ms. Hodges said about him putting in his papers, that is what I know. I don't know other things that I've heard.
Ms. Diggs has the floor.
I really, when I joined this board or was elected here, I had no idea of the responsibilities that one has when they sit on the side of the table. And from my viewpoint, we do have a board that is interested in all of us who work with the school system. And of course, that includes you guys, that includes the children, it includes these gentlemen over here who make everything work for us. And I don't know what to say other than we are trying, I believe, the best that we can, which you may very well differ with, to do good with the money that we have for our students and our schools. This consolidation plan has been out there for a while, and you've heard Dr. Daniels comment on some of the plans coming up. I feel for you, and I hope and I pray that things will be good this year, this upcoming year, for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs. Any other members who want to say anything? Not at this time. Ms. Bohannon Stewart?
Yeah, just a few thoughts. I do appreciate everyone who comes out and shares their thoughts with us and attends our meetings. It bothers me that we have to add responsibilities, and some of the decisions that we have to make sometimes just break my heart. We have a lack of money, and we can't print our own money, and certain buckets of money can only be spent on certain things. And, anybody that has concerns about the budget process, just, keep coming to the meetings, keep following that cycle, especially when it starts next year. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bohannon Stewart. We will move on to item 10, school board member reports. Does any member have a report that they need to share?
One thing, real quickly.
Yes, Ms. Morgan.
The Policy Review Committee, Ms. Hodges and myself, have completed reviewing all of the policies that were past due and the ones that are gonna come due this year. We're up to date, we're caught up.
Thank you so much.
We are caught up.
I appreciated the process, actually. It educated me on many of the policies that I, wasn't quite aware of.
Well, I think as we go forward, first of all, you've gotten us up to the baseline, and I thank you for that. We all thank you for that, and everyone along this road does. But moving forward, then policy will be more focal for us all, I think. And I think it just has to be kind of a new
given responsibility, which it is something. And we'll all be more in tune, but having the two of you get us up to speed, I can't thank you enough for that. Excellent, excellent teamwork and speed. Very much faster than I thought it would happen.
Yeah, most of the policies that are gonna, I don't use the word expire, but come up for review this year are gonna come up in May. I think actually we reviewed some of them that are gonna be coming in May. But regardless of that, I'm pretty certain, based on what we're hearing on the news and reading in various sources, that there are gonna be some policy changes due to the General Assembly's actions. So we've talked, just between the two of us, that probably about July, maybe, June or July, that we start looking at what policies are gonna have to be addressed.
Okay, and I think
Due to changes, due to
policy
legal.
services, right now, we currently are using SBMA policy services, which there is anticipated policies coming out based on the new legislation. So I think there will be a lot of information coming down in the next few months that will inform, and we will not be creating policies from scratch.
Right, exactly.
On this new legislation. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Ms. Lau for her efforts
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
assistance in this, with the policy committee. Thank you so much, Ms. Lau.
Yes. She made it so much easier. Every time we came, everything was just laid out.
And there
for
was
us.
so
It made
much
it so much
to
easier.
do,
Yes,
and
yes.
couldn't do it without her, yeah.
So I do have a
Yes.
question then. So then, I'm assuming in the process with SBMA will be similar to what we've become accustomed to with VSBA, in that they will give us policies that we don't have to adopt exactly as they are presented. We could review them and modify or amend as the board sees fit. Now, is it the expectation then that Mr. Morgan and I will have an eye to all those policies that's coming out of the new legislation, and then present that to the board with our recommendations? Is that what you're expecting from us?
You know, I think the Zoom conference call
yeah,
that's on the
It's
27th.
on Monday, I believe.
Um,
No, yes, Monday, and I can't
Okay,
participate in it.
will be critical. Mr. Morgan, can you make that?
Yes, I
meeting?
already said yes to
Okay,
it.
I know Ms. Lau is not, but Mrs. Hundley is going in her place, Dr. Daniels on the distro, Ms. Hundley's on. There will be several people on that. I will attend if I'm able. Also, now that I know that you will not be there, I will be there, so we'll have two board members, and we will clarify those types of questions. I think that I cannot answer them adequately, and I think SBMA needs
Okay.
to.
I may be able to do the last 30 minutes, I don't know.
Oh, great.
If I can, I will,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I believe there was an email this morning from SBMA regarding policy services. I
believe it
can't
was.
tell you exactly what it said, I don't recall, but there was some communication about the policy services.
Well, as we're getting, we're using a new service, at least for this interim period. There will be a learning curve, and we know that they are experiencing some technical difficulties on their end, which they are trying to clear up. Software and hardware is my understanding.
And some of that's been done.
And some of that has been clarified and fixed. So we just need to make sure that we are on time and appropriate in our policy adoption. And that is what we need to make sure happens. And however it happens is the best way is what this board is going to choose to do.
Yes. And may I comment on just a slightly different issue?
Yes.
Well, or is it?
Yes.
The next one?
Yes, no, this is it.
Okay. I have just received the consolidation committee recommendations, thanks to our assistant superintendent, who is
Magic.
right on top of it. So,
Magic.
thank you for that. Very, very impressed with what I've seen so far. So,
Very good. Any more reports or any? All right. Moving on to finally, item 11, other business by school board members or superintendent. 11.1, our next monthly closed meeting will be Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, 5 p.m. back at the J. Murray Brooks Auditorium at Thomas Hunter Middle School. And item finally, 11.2, Our next regular monthly meeting will follow the closed meeting Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, 6 p.m., again, back at the J. Murray Brooks Auditorium at Thomas Hunter Middle School. There being no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.